second episode.
Long time no see, guys.
It's been a long 30 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, as always, there's a little delay on Facebook, so we'll just chit-chat.
Last time, it wasn't even 30 minutes because I saw you literally upstairs 5 minutes after we ended the last one.
I couldn't stay away from you guys. That's what it was.
So we're doing another show 2 hours after this one as well.
We should just do a whole day show every day.
24-hour show.
Just like standard streaming. All right, we're live on all three if you guys want to get official with these intros.
Hello, everybody on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook. I think that's it, right? That's it? I got them all?
Yeah.
On iTunes, on SoundCloud.
On iTunes, if you guys are listening on iTunes too. Welcome to episode 11 of the Nexus podcast, where we talk about everything and anything related to League of Legends. Once again, I'm Lisa Juan, and here is...
Gabriel Sultan Johan.
Yes,
full name today. That's legit.
We did full first name last time. Gonna keep going. I'm gonna add in my middle name next.
Oh, brother.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Look forward to the next episode, guys.
Just for that.
And of course, we have the lovely
Ryan Stratton's here. What's up? What's up? What's up?
Yes.
I'm the loud guy. I don't know. I actually got the pleasure to speak with Cake about this whole Tainted Minds thing. So I'm super excited for the guest that you're just about to introduce.
Oh,
Lisa?
you're not going to spoil
I
it
won't
this time,
feel it.
Ryan.
Spoil it this time. Go right ahead.
Today we have a special guest joining us from Australia. I know. She has a lovely accent too, I say.
It must be super early down there.
It is.
The last time we had a guest with an accent, Lisa tried mimicking that accent.
Not in like a
and
malicious
it went
way.
Poorly, very poorly.
I'm just really bad with languages. But, further ado, let's introduce our guest. It's former Tainted Minds manager, Fasffy. Welcome to the Nexus. Can you hear us?
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Hello, good. How are you?
Good, tired, but good.
Yeah, it's really early over there. Thank you so much for taking the time to kind
Join
of
us
do
today.
this. Especially, again, we keep joking about it, but this isn't exactly esports time necessarily.
It's early. It's
When
like
is
7.
esports time, honestly? Like,
When the sun is not out,
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
basically.
That's
so
my
it's good then, it's perfect.
It's like the break of dawn over there for you.
This is like bedtime, like they're just starting to
Yeah.
fall into bed. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. But there's a green screen behind you, is that right? Or is that just a decor?
Yeah, no, this is my favorite green sheet. I just really like it.
Really?
Decorate the walls. I mean, I've seen some people who have, the
Drapes? Like
even like mats that they put up on the wall. And I mean, that's perfect decor. I really enjoy it, Fasffy. Well done.
yeah, I thought it was gonna be like for your streaming.
It
You
is.
know? Oh, you're
Oh,
trolling.
it is.
Yeah,
I'm trolling.
Wow! Everybody, whoosh,
trolling you.
whoosh. For a second,
I feel
was
like
like,
I feel like I was
sincere.
I feel like I was the only one that
right.
got that.
I was there. Now,
All right.
now listen, it's all fun and games right now, but
Yeah.
we've got Fasffy here right now because, of course, there's a lot of trouble down under, and the entire worldwide. I guess anybody who's
community.
involved in League of Legends has had their eyes peeled for anything that's come up about Tainted Minds.
Yep.
Before we, I guess, get into this your side of the story, Fasffy, let's kind of summarize it for those who haven't really been kept up to date with the story. So, do you want to start, Gabe, with what you know about the scenario? What happened in the last, I guess, few weeks?
Yeah, and Fasffy can
Yeah, definitely,
obviously
Fasffy, definitely add into the
fill
story
in.
too. Yeah.
But essentially, there was mistreatment of players. They were in living conditions that were not ideal.
Up to standards, right?
Not
of Riot.
even not ideal in terms of the context of the living situation, where they were faced with record heat waves and didn't have access to air conditioning, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just living conditions, it was also the condition by which they had to perform their job was not up to par and not up to the standards of the contract that was given to all the players, including the North American imports, so not just the Australian players that were there. And as well as that, there's allegations of mispayment or underpayment, and also contract termination clauses that on one side suggests were fulfilled under like the contract's legal mandate, and on the other side the suggestion that wasn't filled. So there's a bit of a legal scuffle there, or was a legal scuffle there. Then there's also issues with preferential treatment and potential corruption with respect to the Riot
OC?
contract database and kind of the lenience that Tainted Minds got by having more than the maximum number of players allowed in the database. So it's a whole host of issues. It ranges.
There's so much.
Yeah. Is there
I
anything
think
you
a
want?
lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah, Fasffy, did you want to add to anything? Is there anything we're missing?
Oh,
in terms of
tons, probably.
Oh, it's gone on for so long. Like, honestly, like we tried absolutely everything that we could on our own the first month before we even went to Riot. And then when we went to Riot, it just got more and more like everything just intertwined, and there was multiple things going on, and it's just been a huge ordeal. Yeah.
And I will say what's very interesting about this argument between both sides, the Tainted Minds, Fasffy, the players, is that it's very transparent now with chat logs out about everything that was typed between them. Of course, like we can't speak to anything that happened outside of chat logs, but I mean with this messy chapter now behind us, we are actually looking at the Riot intervention and some rulings which Fasffy, do you want to speak to those and say how you feel about those for the players, for yourself?
Yeah, so from the ruling, what I understand, they only really touched on two like things that they say that was like breached, I guess. And one was like them failing to make payment, and the other one was them failing to provide computers to myself and the coach, which is, I think, missing so much of what else actually happened throughout the whole entire time.
Right.
And they say they investigated it all. Like, I had a call with the writer as well, and I felt like I really got a good chance to explain like the way I felt about things that happened to me through the whole time. And yeah, to see them just like brushed away and brushed aside or not even addressed in the ruling is kind of like really disappointing.
Yeah, and I mean, I can say that with the ruling that I seen came down from Riot, which was a $7,000 Australian dollar penalty, equivalent to like a $5,000 American fine, as well as they're on probation. And as far as I can see it, it's a slap on the wrist for an organization while a manager, coach, and some players have suffered. So, Fasffy, any more on that?
Yeah, well, essentially, like everybody involved within the team and that kind of thing has been set back almost like at least half a year. And so their lives, every single one of those people's lives, there's 6-7 people involved here. Like, that's worth $5,000. Like, it's not just like, yeah, I feel like it's much more. It's much more. Like, you can easily put that it's actually like a year of their lives that have been affected. Like, 2 of the veterans from the O scene have had to retire, essentially. Like, one has already retired and the other one's looking, like, staring at, like, straight down the barrel. Like, and it's not fair even to the veterans of, like, the Australian region who've sat there and, like, they have been, like, the players that have helped this region grow for the past 5 years, and they're just forced to retire. Like, it's so much more. Like, you can't really put a price on that. And this was their way out of, I don't know. I just find it really, really lackluster.
Yeah.
And I will say from the chat logs, and this is the first time I've actually got to speak to you, Fasffy, but it seems from the chat logs that maybe some things misguided, but your heart's in the right place, and you had motivations to get the team in a house under contract and get those guys, playing in the proper conditions. And I know from talking to Tristan, Cake, he speaks volumes about you and all the good hard work that you've put in, and. I guess like besides like the settlement and besides being I guess taken back for half a year, there's still some optimism from someone like Tristan who thinks that this young challenger guy who came from Canada, signed to a pro league, he's optimistic that he can keep working and get back to that pro scene even if he has been back half a year.
But he's still asking for damages for that time, right?
Absolutely. So. And as a player, I mean, like if you've got your skill, you can always carry that with you. And Fasffy, as a manager, like what are your concerns going forward in the way that I guess Tainted Minds has painted you and your biggest fears to the best things that could come out of this? Like how are you feeling?
With like my situation, like me personally?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh well, I kind of they've kind of chosen me as like the thing to throw under the bus to try and pin it all on me. I thought it was really a joke, their statement, how they were actually trying to pin stuff that was just 100% their choice in the end on me. Like it's very childish, I guess, which is what I learned from them the whole time I was dealing with them. But it's essentially like I've spent maybe all, like, if you count the half of the year last year that I worked, like, yeah, already up to this point, I've lost a year of my life. And I haven't actually been approached by any teams within my region. So they've done enough damage to me as, like, within my career to establish that, you know, I'm not going to get another job managing, whereas I was the best manager within the region. So essentially, I think the only time that I might actually get approached to, you know, pick up another managing job would be at the end of the year, if anything at all. So I've essentially lost a year and a half of, like, my career and job, and I dropped everything to move to Sydney. I left my job. I moved everything I owned to Sydney, and yeah, it's just like I've lost pretty much essentially everything. And, you know, all the 3 years that I've been working as a manager within the scene is also now just kind of like I've lost it all almost.
I hear you and I feel for you, and I just want to clarify this. You know, the year and a half that you feel like you've sort of lost, is that due to contract stuff, or just you feel like your reputation in going out on this limb and trying to get this Tainted Mind thing off the ground? Is there anything? Okay.
Yeah, the reputation, I would put it down to. Like, they definitely made efforts to, like, damage my reputation when it all went down.
Are you seeking similar compensation to what Cake is seeking as a result of that, or?
Yeah, I, like, at this moment, like, I can only really take things in stages. So my priority was making sure that the players were taken care of first before I started looking into, like, things with me, because I felt like, you know, there's enough issues going on right now. I don't really want to distract from, you know, what's going on with them, because it was more important for them. But yeah, no, I am still looking to go forward with, you know, pursuing some form of damages for myself and trying to get the money that they still owe me.
They still haven't addressed that part for you, the payment?
Nope. Yep. No, that's why one of the things I think is, like, fairly surprising that Riot decided to just ignore.
Yeah,
and that's also interesting given the ruling that came out today in the EU LCS, which was Origin being completely
not having contracts, essentially.
Yeah, basically.
Which is something that you fought to get.
But it was also even more hilarious given the fact that the fine was more.
10,000 euros, I believe?
Yeah, which is double the fine that the Tainted Minds people received.
I understand, like, the fact that they're trying to, like, balance the amount of money out dependent on how much money is within the region, I guess.
Yes.
Like, I understand that, but, like, from what I understood when I was working there, like, even when the investor of John McRae came on board, because he wasn't originally there, he came on this year.
Right.
When he came on board, like, Nick Babir would joke or, like, be so confident to say that he's got a lot of money and, you know, this and that. So, like, and, like, the amount of money they find them, like, isn't even the price of the computers that they owed. Like, I do think that, you know, they have made an effort to keep the fine to within the region and, like, what kind of money is within the region, but in the same, like, I think that they've definitely missed a lot as well.
So in that vein, then, would you say that, so clearly you don't think that the ruling is fair? It's very clear, and to a lot of people it really isn't fair. Would you say that if the Tainted Mind situation were to happen in another region, that, like, a larger region, let's say this happened in North America, just for argument's sake, would you say that there would be
differences in how they handled it?
Yeah, differences in how they handled it, and not only that, but differences in the punishment administered, and maybe the way the investigation revealed some truths about the organization or the conduct of each party?
Yeah, definitely, because from my understanding, because with a lot of the time in December, I spent a lot of it trying to figure out, like, how I could get Riot, this is more January at this point. It was very, like, light. I was emailing back and forth with Riot about like, you know, trying to figure out if they could already help us and all of this. But from what I understand, like, the contracts that are in place between, like, Riot and the organizations are very, very basic. Like, it's the first year that we've had gaming houses offered to, like, all teams within the region. And because of that, it seems like they've taken, like, a step back from where everybody else is at. They've, like, lowered the bar, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because essentially I figured out that, you know, for us to really prove anything to Riot. We had to somehow guess as like players and a manager if Tainted Minds had actually breached part of the contract between Riot Games and Tainted Minds, yet we weren't allowed to see it.
Yeah.
So we had to like literally dig and like guess. We were like blind by like what Tainted Minds could actually do to breach the contract between Riot Games and Tainted Minds. And from what I understand, it boiled down to like it had to be black and white. So I think it came down to the fact that if there were more than 2 players per room, or that they missed a payment, only then could something be done.
Those were the only conditions.
That were black and white?
Everything else essentially was up to discretion or up to their own judgment, I guess. Which I guess they were sticking to, that it was just like not okay. Or well, it was okay. So the fact that we never got provided with, proper council bins to remove rubbish from the premises, they didn't care. They didn't care about the continuous power outages in the house that we had, which was like making us not able to use the air conditioning or like use half of the computers or even cook.
Or like do your job essentially
on that
as
note,
a player.
So are there actually standards outlined maybe on Riot's end of like housing standards? Like, is that a thing?
Or in the contract between Tainted Minds and the staff?
No, I feel like Tainted Minds and the staff, it would make sense in their contracts to have, like housing standards. But does Riot enforce housing standards? That's
No. And I was about to say no as well. Like even in terms of like when we travel to League of Legends, go ahead.
Okay, I can't 100% say that that's the case because I've not been allowed to see the contracts.
Right.
But it makes sense to me that if we've explained all of this stuff to them and they're happy to still say that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a concern for them. You don't see them showing concern for that aspect.
That's a really interesting kind of labor rights question. Yeah. Just generally talking about working conditions and talking about
because a lot of people are joking, like especially in the upper management of Tainted Minds, like that. The players were complaining about air conditioning, that they didn't have suitable air conditioning, and they're complaining. They're laughing at it because they're like, I don't even have air conditioning at home, and all of this is being like brought to the surface as like a reason why the players are bratty or whatever they want to like throw at them. But there are like work and health laws within Australia for like sedentary like working conditions that state that it should be at like a certain temperature for working. Like it's because there's like a blurred line within the region about stable working conditions, and that it's being mixed because the players live inside their house. They can't like separate the fact that it's a working room, and that needs to be of standard.
So this brings into question again the idea of whether like houses to practice games and scrim and stuff versus offices. Like if this was like an office, a work office, would the standards be more enforced? But the fact that it's a house,
they'd be much clearer at the very least.
Possible.
Yeah, I just don't feel that, and here's the big dilemma. Without a players' union, and like we see this in the National Football League, I mean, basically players get taken advantage of, and you're at the mercy of the team owners. Now, I mean, we've experienced before about Riot, even in terms of like media availability with players, they don't set that. That's set by the actual teams. The teams can set their salary, and they don't even have to tell people. The teams can set. They could even set practice 14 hours a day. They could set
streaming times.
Exactly. They could set whatever they want. And what's very unfortunate is that Riot hasn't taken control of this. And like Fasffy had said, do
you really want Riot taking control of that stuff, though?
And that's another question. But then, do you want player unions? And it's just Yes. Okay. Yes.
That would be nice.
Unanimous.
But I guess the thing is, like, I felt for people like Fasffy and Tristan and the whole Tainted Minds team when they were seeking payments or seeking some sort of compensation. I didn't think, and I'm sorry, but I didn't think from the very get-go that Riot was going to step in and stand up for the players and give them everything that they wanted. Unfortunately, I think that this is something that would have to go outside of Riot and to like an actual court of law.
Like third-party arbitration and mediation, which I believe was sought as well by the players and stuff.
So I actually paid for the lawyer and everything. So I was at that point in time, because Riot wouldn't speak to me. I was pretty much like exiled from everything.
Was it
So
like a separate lawyer, like at a separate law firm, or one that Riot used, or?
No, I found this guy. So I actually went out and found a lawyer, because at that point in time, like, Riot weren't saying anything else to us aside from the fact that they can't give us advice, or like legal advice. And they were just sitting like in front of us, and that's all they kept repeating essentially. So at that point, I decided to be like, you know what, fuck it, okay, I'll go get legal advice. But like, thinking about it now, like, I can confidently say that there's no other manager within the region that would have done that, and players wouldn't have done it either. And like, it's because of, you know, the huge expense that comes with it.
Was this a separate lawyer from the ones mentioned in the chat logs that Tainted Minds is kind of disputing? Oh, it's not. Okay.
Oh, hold on. No, Matt Jessup.
Oh, so it is a completely separate person. Okay, cool.
I'm not sure which one you mean the how they're speaking about a lawyer who drafted the contract?
Yes.
Oh, I think that's
yeah.
No, it's a different one, completely different.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, Fasffy, what I take away from this is, I mean, exactly what you just said. It seemed like in the chat logs, like, you were reaching crunch time. You were reaching, you know, the time where you had to get a team house. You had to get these contracts in play in order to field a team for Tainted Minds to actually compete in the OPL. What would have happened if you didn't, you know, go the extra mile and work 24 hours in a day and burn yourself out? What would have happened? Would they have put a team out?
No. This organization is a COD organization. I've essentially did everything for them because they bought their spot into League. So they didn't have any knowledge about League or any of the workings or anything like that. Like, it's embarrassing to the point where, like, I had to, like, help them correct forms that they were filling into Riot that they should have known themselves anyway. Like, simple things about, like, how much players were getting paid. They was going to put forward. Like, they sent through things to me to, like, double check before they sent them through to Riot. And it's actually quite embarrassing to think, yeah.
And absolutely, I get it. And right now in this whole world of esports, I mean, it's new, it's up and coming, and people haven't really sussed out this whole landscape and what works and what doesn't work. Of course, like a contract, and coming through in your contract would work, but I mean, they haven't really, like, the esports landscape is still not sort of settled. And unfortunately for Fasffy, for Tristan, for a bunch of people even outside League of Legends, it seems like some people in the esports industry have not got the pay that they've been going for, and we see this from multiple different, like, news organizations, teams.
Not even just the pay; they just like don't get respected. They don't like people think that because. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'd like to touch on the pay thing because, I think a lot of people looking outside in think that, you know, it is actually like a full-time job for the entirety of the industry, whereas that's really not the case. Like, a lot of organizations, I feel like this year, I can't, like, confirm it or anything, but I know this is what happened with me and Tainted Minds, is that, you know, the organization received, like, support, like, funding for a lot of things to help them set up team houses within the region and all of this stuff. So part of that is that they got support funding to help pay for the manager. But, like, that's what it was. It was a support payment, whereas Tainted Minds treated that as that was all the money you're going to get.
Yeah. And
so, like, even though I moved to the house, I was still trying to, like, work out, like, what I could do and trying to figure out how much time I had to spend on managing the team so that I could still get a part-time job on the side so that I could still support myself. Because the amount of money is not enough to, like, you can't live off $8,000 a year.
Yeah, that's like, pretty unreasonable.
Definitely not.
So, and I know a lot of managers are in the same position, like the organizations, because they've never received money. Like, up until, like, last year, I received for the whole year worth of work $750, and it was supposed to be $1,000, but, like, they were gonna not bring the coach to our boot camp, so I paid for my coach's flights. But, like, so, like, that was the entirety, and that was, like, a special thing in its own, even to have received any form of money like last year.
Lisa's like so speechless.
Why are you shocked?
You 8,000 a year?
Yeah.
Also 8,000 Australian, and the things cost more.
So a lot of people in these support roles are, like, still very much there because it's a passion of theirs and they want to be there. But they are still needing to, like, find support, monetary support otherwise, where if they want to be able to invest as much time as they want into it.
What my question is because this is a situation that's happening in the OCE, which is a unique region compared.
It's developing.
Right, it's developing. Sure. So I'm wondering how frequent is this situation happening that we don't even know of
in
with
other
other
regions?
teams? Or, like, no, within this region, first of all. And I guess there's other regions too.
Like
but,
all the
in
wild
OC
cards?
Exposing the truth.
No,
Your
but,
eyes
like,
are so open.
I'm curious because like if you would talk to a coach like in NA or like a manager in NA getting paid $8,000 a year, like that is not happening. I'm so surprised. So I'm just curious. Like I don't know if you talked to other managers or like what's the scene like their approach to paying managers $8,000 a year. Is that normal? Is that acceptable?
Well, like I said, it is a huge improvement for the region because before you were doing it completely for free.
Yep.
Like last year was the first time I received any kind of money ever, and I've been managing for like three or 4 years.
And that's again, like I'm new to this whole esports scene. I came on in October, and I'm from like the sports background on the side of theScore, and just seeing these, what people get paid, and again, it's for a lot of people, it's a passion project, it's a hobby, it's something that they love doing that they try to turn into a full-time job, right? And I guess, and again, I know personal people who have dealt with that struggle and have not been given the money or whatever they were promised in contracts, and this is another case of what I would call, and here's what I go off in the esports industry. A lot of big money people are going to invest in this, and it looks like a quick buck real early to sign some young guys who are up and coming, great pros, make a buck off it, and not worry about holistic approaches like some of the better managers and CEOs are doing.
Here's my problem with what you said, Ryan.
Yes.
Is that it is the assumption that this is still a hobby for these people, despite and like confusing that passion for it still being a hobby when it's supposed to be becoming formalized and becoming professional. Hell, this is a region that like constantly competes to go to Worlds, for God's sake. Like it's not like at the highest level of this region, we shouldn't be treating it as a hobby. We should be treating it as an actual proper professional
definitely not.
activity.
But when you're getting, when you're getting paid $8,000 a year, I'm sorry, that has to be a hobby because you can't live off it. You're going to have to do something else, which is unfortunate.
That's not even the full payment that was like allocated to. Like, did you see how I had an argument like last year around my contract with Nick Bobia?
No, what happened?
No.
So when we were going into this year, like I essentially knew how much money I was entitled to from Riot.
Right.
And they were originally not offering me that full amount. So I had to try and like bring up conversation to them in the first place to outline to them that, I'm going to be working this amount of time for the amount of money that you guys are paying me so that I can actually get more work, because that was going to be required, because I knew that it was like going to be like not even discussed, if that was going to make sense. So I had to bring up and fight for the full entitlement of the $8,000 from Riot, which is supposed to be a support payment anyway. Like Tainted Minds, ideally, I guess this is the way Riot would have liked it to go down, is that Tainted Minds would have put in money as well towards the role, which didn't happen.
The other thing that I did see from chat screenshots is they didn't even want you in the house either, right?
Why not?
No, towards the end, because they started to not like the fact that I was going to stop working overtime, I guess. Because I was at the end of December and I'd actually worked like 3 full-time jobs worth of work at some like at the point from what I'd worked out. And I was like, this isn't changing. They're not resolving issues. My workload is going to stay the same, and I'm actually just not going to be able to find a job. So I had to go to them and try and point this out and be like, look, I can't work all of these things and can't continue to do all of these things. And then they decided to like not really acknowledge it and just like brush it off. So I had to actually take a step back and like try and like prove to them that they needed to do something about it, which meant that I had to stop, doing roles that was outside of the agreement that I had with them. So like aside from everything else that happened with like Tainted Minds on the team, like this was another like issue. Like I was fighting like a separate battle around my contract with them at the same time as trying to support the players with theirs. It was a huge ordeal.
And listen,
in the end. But like from my understanding, the amount of money that was allocated towards the manager role from Riot is $5,000 for the year, and the $3,000 comes from being a player handler, which was allocated to the people who were going to be there on the game days with the players and making sure that they were in the studios and making sure they were in the right places.
Isn't that a Riot employee position then, or is that separate?
there was riders there as well, but it's more so to make sure that, you know, when they're not able to be there with the team, because they'll be juggling like 4 different teams or something at one given point in time, that you are making sure that the players aren't like off around it. So when the riders walk in and they need something to be done, everybody's there.
Got it.
And listen, Fasffy, I know that I guess right now you're worried about your reputation. I think the worst thing that Tainted Minds could throw at you is that, you know, you're a troublemaker. But I personally don't see it that way. I see someone who is juggling, you know, money like a part-time job, who's juggling with the responsibilities of being a manager, as well as going above and beyond in terms of taking care of the players and making sure everything's good in the house with contracts, whatever. And I think that in terms of like, I've been in a place where, you know, I didn't have a supportive boss and I'm burning myself out and I'm doing too much. And then if the management are not going to acknowledge my hard work and support that and give me the things that I need, then all I could do is burn myself out and then hate where I'm working. Now, I mean, with that
Kill
said,
the passion.
yeah, it definitely does. And if this is, you know, if managing teams is something that Fasffy you love clearly because you're willing to like you said, work 24/7 sometimes, are you sort of slighted from this? Are you turned off from the idea of managing a new team?
I'm not essentially turned off the idea of managing a new team. I'm just more worried about finding a team within my region that will actually work to the same level of passion that I am. Because, yeah, the top teams have already kind of established their, like, management. So I can't really see them looking to replace their managers or needing a new manager. And I'm also not interested in working with a team that isn't going to, like, be at least at my level of, you know, working ethic or higher.
Right.
And, yeah. Unfortunately, that's the only teams that would probably be available for me to now get another job.
What?
I just wanted to say that if you ever need a reference for your new position, it sounds like Ryan is fully willing to vouch for you in every single way.
I have all the evidence on Twitter. You don't need anything else. I honestly believe that I know that feeling, and if I was her, I'd be doing the same thing, going above and beyond.
Absolutely.
And I know that in some times in your life, like I look back at some of those times that I work, you know, 100-hour weeks and stuff, burning myself out. But when it pays off and it's successful, and say if Tainted Minds did, you know, which they believe that they could win the split. Now, if that happened after all this adversity, I mean, you couldn't be happier. You'd look back at this time 20 years from now and say it was the best time of your life.
I think you could be happier if you weren't part of that org. If you did it under another organization.
Yeah, of course. But all I see is hard work, determination, and just life lessons in terms of, you know, sussing out managers and trying to find the right fit. Because, of course, I think that somebody who does work as hard as Fasffy should be rewarded with, you know, a manager who really... I guess embraces that and lets, you know, stops micromanaging and putting roadblocks up. And if somebody had her vision and her hard work ethic, I think that they could do a great job managing somewhere. And I mean, it's transparent. It's all out there. This is not just me spitting shit.
Like I said,
give it.
If you want that reference.
She's like, oh, you can see her face. She's just like, oh, Ryan, I don't even know you, but I like you.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Okay, I'm curious.
Ryan, you got to get your pen and paper
Since we're on
ready,
this
man.
note here about, you know, finding work at this point, Fasffy, for you, I find it quite rare that you're a female manager in this scene. So is it hard for you? Do you think it's harder for you compared to other male managers to find work?
I think it depends on the individual. And like how, I guess, tough their skin is.
What do you
Like,
mean
I think
by
it's
that?
right?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that male managers essentially need to have it as well. Like they're going to get shit from their players as well.
Yeah.
But like I think male managers are more easy to get shit from their players than they are going to get from their upper management. So yeah, essentially everybody needs to have some sort of like a thick skin to be in a managerial position. But yeah, I've not really ever, like I've worked for 2 different orgs within the region, and you know, both times I know that, you know, behind my back they are talking about like stuff, and it's not really appreciated. Like even in this scenario, it happened where like Inero and myself hosted the scouting grounds to try and field a academy team.
Yep.
And we were in the room, and it was kind of joked about that, you know, first prize would win a date with me. And it's just like
Statements like that.
More roadblocks for Fasffy.
Yeah. Well, not or like
Hurdles.
female staff members or even players, just like people participating in the community, like that.
Like from our
those are
experience,
barriers.
we don't, when we go to team houses, we don't see a lot of females as part of the staff. Like obviously there's a couple here and there, but it's quite rare.
Yeah, or they're just friends who.
Yeah, they're just friends. Or
I actually thought there were a lot of like girl managers within NA.
I can't think of any on top of my head.
Like,
Oh, wow, okay.
Sky.
Sky is content, I think.
Yeah, so.
Like in terms of team manager, I can't think of
Yeah.
anyone off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
me neither.
So
Lena, maybe.
I think she's calm, like marketing. So
Yeah.
like there's obviously other aspects of leadership positions, which is there's females in it, but I'm talking about like team management, the one who's directly dealing with the team.
Yeah.
You don't find a lot of females.
I can't think of any either.
That's cool. That's another one up for Fasffy. Put that on the resume. And listen, I'd also think for Fasffy that I guess like the last couple years, like I know for me, like every day you grow and you're only as good as you are like in the present moment right now. And if she had spent 2 years, with other organizations that didn't end as badly as Tainted Mind ones, but maybe the whole OPL it's not as advanced as we're familiar with here in NA. And with that said, I mean for the last 2 years managing different teams, and now this Tainted Mind thing comes out, you might think it's 3 references that you wouldn't want to use on a job application. But again, I think with all these,
Just use Ryan's instead.
Yes, exactly. with all this information out there, again, I think that there's a lot of hope for the future, and I think as long as you're tenacious and you find the right management, I honestly think the sky's the limit. I think that you really showed some character in there, and it takes a lot of courage to do that.
I think Gabe has a question.
Yeah, I wanted to circle back to this being a female staff member point, because it is pretty underaddressed. I think it's because we don't encounter many females in esports in positions of authority. You mentioned that one Scouting Grounds experience, and obviously that's like pretty problematic for a lot of reasons that I don't want to get into right now.
Yeah.
But was that something that was the norm, not just from maybe your players, but also from like upper management or from people around the scene just generally?
Yeah, you'll always get it, I guess. Like even with, I reckon in America, where it is actually a professional region, like I think it just comes down to the fact that Tainted Minds was, I don't think they really treated it as it was a professional thing. Like I think that they saw what was happening with the house and everything, that the players should be grateful to be living in a house and being paid to play games all day. Whereas like that's definitely the wrong way to look at it. Like these people are like sacrificing, like all of the jokes about initiative, like I get their jokes, but it's so real. Like they think that they're just sitting in a house playing games, whereas it's really not the case. These people are willing to put aside 13 hours of each and every one of their days to be like working to make sure that they're staying at the top of their game and able to win and be good. Like I am very confident the fact that if we were able to stay together, we had the correct support, we would have won this split.
And also
I'm
it's
very
like
confident
for
to say that.
them, it's like, why make light of that when these people are working so goddamn hard to defend your investment too, right? Like
That's true. Giving
It's
the team
insane.
the resources to succeed is in your best interest.
Look
so
at
why
Steve.
aren't you
It's
doing it?
invaluable, really. Like
Yeah.
that was their one job.
yeah. look at
Eventually.
look at Steve on Team Liquid. Like he was
He's
like
fighting for the team.
yeah, he was like, you guys need this to not get relegated.
I will buy you double.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Like,
and
it's
like
that
I
kind of
said,
stuff, and that's a totally different mindset.
We had Noah Winston on here, who was all talking about the holistic approach of like diversifying their work and giving them other life skills, and even Weldon Green talking about everything that encompanies stress and anxiety and how to deal with those things. And I think that that's the right thing and that's the direction that esports should be going. This holistic approach to take guys who are in their 20s, right, early 20s, and that's a very formidable time in your life. Like you're supposed to be getting a job and like getting straightened away and like all that stuff, and then they go take it. Yeah, they're gonna go take a chance to go play professionally. Maybe they've even got student debt, and then this is the type of reception they get. I think it's a complete travesty that these guys who were trying to live out their dream ended up with an organization like Tainted Minds, and unfortunately, Riot's powerless to do a whole lot about it.
Or doesn't want to
Doesn't
use
want
that.
Sure.
Yeah. But it's also like pretty interesting. It's kind of circling back to the beginning of this whole discussion where we were talking about losing years of your life. I feel like it's not just like losing those years professionally, but also formatively for like individuals just generally growing up, especially these young players, having to kind of be forced into these really egregious real world situations in a very aggressive way and not getting proper compensation or proper information to help them through those situations is also pretty difficult, and also something that makes these kinds of situations and these kinds of rulings worse, because it's also not compensating for or being cathartic towards those kinds of formative situations, or being cathartic towards the growth of those young players.
Yeah, the ruling didn't really address a lot of the issues that, they raised. And
yeah, absolutely.
One thing I note that I found really concerning in the ruling was there was a little paragraph that I think Riot wrote about breaking non-disclosure agreements.
Yes,
which I found really concerning, because they were like,
don't do
you know
it.
what, we value non-disclosure agreements, and that's the most important thing to us, and that breaking it will have serious consequences. And I'm just thinking, someone is coming to you, and yes, they are, I guess, breaking that non-disclosure agreement, but what's more important at this point? Like human rights,
livelihood,
rights, or non-disclosure agreements, and I understand it's a balance, but at what point are you allowed to break them and not get in trouble for it,
Yeah.
I think that was just Riot's, their one jump off point to take the side of the organization over the players, which is, again, a very unfortunate stand, and I wish they had done more, but overall I see TM just get a slap on the wrist. And but the thing is, this is a huge learning opportunity. You could get knocked down and choose to just drag your feet and, this is my one shot at the pros and now it's all gone, or you can stay tenacious, you can get back out there, and as long as you keep your head on your shoulders, I think, like I said, be very optimistic, and I think that you guys have done a great job handling yourselves.
Fasffy, I have one interesting question for you. This ruling and kind of the slap on the wrist nature of this ruling, do you predict that this ruling will probably catapult or incentivize organizations to treat their players more poorly as a result of not seeing this rule as a result of
get away with it?
Yeah, exactly. These organizations may think like I can get.
Such a cheeky question.
I'm just wondering, because
what's the impact of this ruling? Basically,
it's a good question. But I think it kind of stems from a lot of different areas. So if there's one thing that I can give advice to any player that might be watching this, is that in Australia, like I mentioned, before I ended up trying to find somebody else to help me write the contracts for the players and everything, because Tainted Minds were already looking like they were going to miss deadlines. They were essentially going to have a 20-year-old man write the contracts for the players and hand them to the players, and his knowledge of contracts is what he's read in other contracts,
or he copy pastes all that.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. So the biggest amount of wisdom I guess I could pass on is it is worth whatever money you need to pay to have a legal professional look over your contracts before you sign them. And I think from going on from there, once you have that, because a lot of the players, I had a 17-year-old player on my team, Prater, the top laner, who's still with Tainted Minds. A lot of the people that come to play video games and spend enough time playing video games to get to the level where they are seen as to have really great potential to be picked up from a very young age are kids that aren't very good at communicating with people, or they might not have the greatest communication with their parents or anything like that. So they'll be getting contracts shoved under their face by a manager or whoever else that might not take into consideration the fact that this guy just wants to play League. He's going to sign anything you put under him just so he can get the chance to play League.
Yeah.
So I think it comes from it goes backwards. So people need to make sure that they are signing stuff that they understand, and that is actually legal. I think a lot of contracts within Australia aren't even legal.
Really?
In terms of
because,
go ahead, Fasffy.
Oh, sorry, because they're not getting paid enough to make it a full-time job. So a lot of the people, a lot of the contracts, I think, aren't even distinguished between whether they are an employee or a contractor. Which is just
difference.
Needed.
It's a big difference.
It's just needed to make it a valuable contract. Yeah, there's a huge difference. If you're an employee, you'll get vacation days, you'll get holiday leave, you'll get sick leave. You'll get those things. Whereas if you're a contractor, you don't.
And then doing taxes is different too.
And taxes, everything, it's a huge difference. So yeah, I think it comes back to the fact that players need to know what they're signing. They need to take more time into realizing that is where you get your stability from. going forward. And, you know, if they are going to sign that contract, then they need to know, what it is that what they can expect and, you know, what they can fight for and what they can't fight for. But yeah, like essentially that's all up to the power of an organization and what they want to hand their players. There is no benchmark set from Riot to like what has to be in their contracts as a bare minimum.
You said it was a cheeky question. That was a very cheeky answer right there.
How is it a cheeky
answer? Because I asked, do organizations have the incentive to
treat players worse?
To treat players worse, and you said, well, now players. Essentially, you said, you know, now players see this.
I'm just saying
see what happened.
Sorry, go on.
Got him.
No, but I think it's a good answer too. But by saying like this, because this is an example of how organizations can completely fuck you, and so as a result, players should be more aware of those kinds of ways in which organizations can exploit you. I think it's a great answer.
I'm ending it right now. Stop exploitation. I'm starting the players' union. I'm starting it.
Ryan's becoming a
essentially,
communist.
it is a job of the organization to get as much work out of somebody they are paying as possible.
Absolutely.
Right?
But to what point?
And in essence, like, you know, it is like in the best interest of the org to try and get what they can out of whoever they're going to employ.
Yeah.
But then again, like that's said based off the fact that they're businesses. Whereas most of the orgs are still, you know, an ex-pro COD player who's just had the organization shoved on them because they needed a team to be able to compete overseas once.
Right.
Like, these people don't have the business mindset. They don't know the laws. They try and cut corners. They're not even treating it like it's a professional industry. Like, yeah, that needs to change as a whole before things are going to improve.
Well, you know what? You've been, I guess, through a rough couple of weeks, and ultimately,
months, really,
sorry, I don't want to.
It's almost half a year now.
Oh my god! And especially with the ruling coming out recently, I'm sure you know it's
not going to stop.
It's going to continue, but ultimately, what is it that you hope come out of this? Because you took a huge step with going out and making this all public and talking about this, which it's shedding light on a very serious issue. So, what do you ultimately hope to come from this?
I hope that Riot will, I don't know if Riot ever do make second rulings, but I hope it's not done. I hope that they realize that they've missed some like vital pieces of, I don't know, even not addressing the fact that Tainted Minds are owing me money still. Like, does that mean that Riot don't care if the managers get paid or not? Like,
right.
Because if it was a player, they would be kicked and banned from a thing completely already. Missing a payment is a huge issue. But yeah, like, I don't know, like, who are they protecting? Who are they looking at protecting within the region of the, I guess, industry that they have?
Right.
So it's bringing that protection from not just players, but everyone else that's within the system, the community.
Well, yeah, because essentially when we started to go reach out to Riot in January, like I actually emailed in, like, trying to see if they would help me, and they actually wouldn't. They wouldn't respond to any of the stuff that I was bringing up, all the issues that we were facing. They wouldn't respond to it because it was not coming from a player.
So until the players stepped in,
until the players actually emailed in, they weren't even going to address it or even look into it or investigate it.
Wow,
that's ridiculous.
And I mean, and that's very like I guess local, but I mean globally, I think that unfortunately for you, I mean you took the hit, but now globally everybody's looking at this as an issue now, and hopefully it won't happen again. It's very unfortunate that you had to take the hit on this, but again, stay tenacious, keep your head up, and I hope you find the right fit in the future. Because again, with transparency, I'm a big believer in whatever comes your way. Just keep your head up.
So Fasffy, where are we going to see you in a couple of months? Where do you think you're going to be?
I don't know. Like I said, I don't think that within my region I'm going to be able to get a position back where I'm actually able to.
Are you looking outside your region then?
I wouldn't know how.
Oh, really? Well, let's
do that.
Let's everyone who's watching. Let's get her some help. But you're definitely interested, then you're saying.
Well, right now I've moved into managing a streamer,
a
friend of mine. So I'm still able to continue like advancing my skills within management and keep doing what I love. So in a sense, I've found that it's just it's still kind of like a hit and a painful thing to me to think that I can't do it within the esports, which is where my passion like originally came from. So yeah, sometimes you just gotta go on. I'm not sure what'll come of this. Yeah.
All right, Fasffy. I'm sure
Well, good luck.
good things will come towards
Yes,
you.
absolutely.
Don't give up hope, okay?
Any last shout outs?
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to address before we say goodbye?
I just want to like shout out to the players, I guess, and the coach that came around, because it was a huge thing for them to move over to the region. Like in an essence, we were all trying to help advance the region, and unfortunately, like hopefully from this, it can still help the region grow and become a better place, and a region that you will see performing really well at wildcards, because there's so much talent within the region here across all of the players, and it's unfortunately lack of support, whether it's having a good coach even. I think that's one of the biggest things that's missing from this region is proper support for players. There's no doubt that the players have potential. It's just finding and giving them the proper support that they deserve to allow them to reach those high levels of play that they will should be able to reach. So I just want to shout out to the players for giving it a chance to come over and trusting me, and sticking it out through the whole time. Like sticking out through the whole month of December while I was trying to work with the org, and then sticking it out through the whole month of January while I was trying to work out with Riot, and it was a huge ordeal for them. And so I guess all the players, so Ryan, Cake, Anira's the coach, Choo Choo's, and Rosie, and Pradith. I know he's not allowed to talk to me right now, but
I was about to cry there before that last one.
Hey, slip us a message. We'll be your middleman.
Yeah, we're here. All right, Fasffy, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it,
cheers.
and best of luck to you.
Also,
we're cheering you on.
have a good day.
Yeah, have a good day. You have the rest of the day ahead of you.
Yeah.
But
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And everybody, if you're watching, thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back next week, same day, Tuesday, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
No.
day. I was like, what day is it today?
No double episode.
Maybe. Don't say never. Never say never.
I don't want one.
Double episode today. Yes, if you guys missed the episode before this, we had Gate from Echo Fox on, so be sure to check that out too. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we will see you guys next time.
Cheers, guys.
Bye, everyone.